Okay, theme song in three, two, one. Hold on. Come on, man. Oh, Jesus. Oh, come on. Let's go. Okay, let's do that again. This is the theme song. Three, two, one. And welcome back to the Constitutional Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. I had to wait for this webpage lit up. Episode 215, another week late episode. But you're going to get 2 episodes this week, and be happy that you're getting any at all. But things will change, and this is hopefully the last time I will be late on this. At least in the meantime. A couple updates. The iPad is dead. I dropped it. The screen did not crack. Nothing is broken. Nothing is dented. It just won't. The screen just won't. It'll light up, but it won't turn on. So the iPad fully works, but the screen is still black and won't turn on. So I got to take it to the Apple Store. Cannot do that until Friday. Unfortunately so. And hopefully it's just a thing where they can just, just pop it open in 10 minutes and go, oh, there's the problem. Let's plug it back up. Because nothing should be broken. It just dropped on a corner inside of a case. No less. That's what happens with these thinner things. That's what I was always afraid of with the iPad, or concerned about, was that it would break based on it being so weak and fragile. These things are $1,400 or $1,200, however much mine cost. $1,200. Same thing for my phone. My phone is subsidized. These things are subsidized, but they're friggin' $1,000 plus, and then they're so thin and they break so easily. And you have to pay Apple Care. You have to pay the Google Fi service protection or whatever. So then that's $5 a month or $15 in case of the phone. I mean, that pays for you to have the chance to pay less in the long run, but it's still, when you send your iPad to Apple, when you send your Mac, when you send your phone or whatever, you're still gonna have to pay the $50 service fee, and then you have to pay whatever on top of that is, the $50 accidental thing. Then you got to go, okay, well, now you have to pay if your screen cracked, or you have to pay to replace this part. That's what and this is not a part of this week's episode. Actually, I don't even have it down. This is not this episode. I don't have it down for the next episode. But the right to repair, that's why it's so important to have these independent shops out there, and not just Apple saying, hey, you can only come to us to fix your stuff. Because if the independent shop has a screen, the screen's probably like what, $20-$30 or $50, but then Apple's upcharging you, $140, $150 just to put the screen on. Where technically, if you just bought some kit from iFixit and did it yourself, then it'll cost you less than that. So that's what these independent shops are for, and that's why these new laws with right to repair. That's why you want the right to repair, so you have to worry about this stuff. Anyway, all that is to say is I had to play the theme song off of the laptop today, which is just pulling so many duties right now. It's a 7-year-old thing, and the song was too loud, and I was taken aback by it. I wonder if I'll keep that part in. Probably not, because I blew out my own ears. So let's get into this first thing, because I really want to do this in 30 minutes. First up, this comes from Engadget, written by S. Shaw. Spotify will allow any U.S. podcaster to charge for a subscription. Now, this is building off of what Apple's podcast subscriptions platform that is launched and is buggy. We talked about it in the last episode. Spotify it's expanding its own paid pod subscriptions to everybody who has a podcast. So I can do it. You can do it. We can all do it. The premium option has been activated on 100 podcasts, according to Sweden-based streaming service, on September 15th. Subscriber-only content will be made available to international listeners, while overseas creators will have to wait a tad bit longer to get their hands on monetization tools. The program itself is available through Anchor, the podcast creation platform acquired by Spotify, alongside Gimlet, for $340 million in 2019. Spotify is going to take 5% in 2023. Comparatively, Apple charges a $20 annual fee for its program and takes a 30% cut of subscriptions for the first year and 15% thereafter. Wow. I think in Apple's, I didn't know about that $20 fee, but I think in Apple's belief case is that they can charge so much because they are the premier platform in the world. But the annual fee is just for the chance to be able to do that, which is why I think things like Patreon are better, and OnlyFans, which is going to be a subject of the next episode of News Time. It only makes sense for those to be what they are because of these avenues like Apple that are taking too much money from creators. But the argument against Patreon is that A, it's not part of the only one company platform that Apple wants you to do. Apple wants you to be part of the ecosystem, and B, it is not unknown, but it's just clunky. It's clunky to implement. If people don't want to subscribe for the extra episode via Patreon, or if they do, they have to get this RSS feed, and if they don't, then they can just go, all right, I want to subscribe via Apple, do the paid subscription via Apple. This is all just turning podcasts into a system that it really kind of wasn't meant to be. And now soon enough, it's already overwrought with, if I can make a podcast, it's too much. It's too much. Even though this is one of the oldest ones out there. Just joking. This next one comes from Dade Hayes over at Deadline Sports on Tubi, streaming hub to feature 10 live channels, 700 on-demand hours. So Tubi, Fox Broadcasting Fox Corp rather, is doing with Tubi what they should have done a long time ago. They're expanding it into sports. Sports, as I've mentioned before, is a very hot commodity in the streaming world. Once ESPN entered with ESPN Plus, then people could finally drop their cable subscriptions. That's why a lot of people stayed with Spectrum or with Fios, Comcast, DirecTV, is because they needed to watch sports, and in a lot of cases, that's the only way to get sports. I know that Fox networks, local Fox networks, went dark in Atlanta on YouTube TV, so now I can't watch a Braves game unless it's on ESPN or TBS. Or streaming on the network. On the network, not streaming on the network. So Tubi's introduction of sports is a huge thing. It's going to have 10 live streaming channels spanning across various sports, as well as almost 700 hours of on-demand programming. NFL, MLB, NASCAR, Big Ten, the rest. a lot of these. They're gonna have all that stuff. But then there's going to be premium top tier events that's going to stay on Fox, FS1, and the other Fox broadcasting platforms. Fox Corp paid $440 million to acquire Tubi in a deal that closed in early 2020. While Tubi has not yet hit the $1 billion revenue level of Viacom CBS unrivaled Pluto, it has made a lot of strides in advertising. Applebee's and Uber Eats. Okay, I don't care about advertising. So you can expect things like past seasons of Hard Knocks, even though that is an HBO show. NFL Media and Television Films still produces it, so they technically have ownership. So that means you can watch the old seasons that aren't on HBO Max. MLB on Tubi is going to have MLB Fastcast, a daily show, as well as classic baseball games, highlights, historic World Series games, All-Star games, other events. This is big. I was talking about soccer on CBS All Access. I just get the pop-ups out of here. I promise I will turn on ad blocker again on these websites if these things just keep popping up. So CBS All Access, Paramount Plus, Fubo TV, ESPN Plus, these things, and now Peacock with wrestling and soccer as well. Sports is still a very big thing. That's where you can get consistent ratings, especially if you are a cable network or just a regular network looking to have, a golf block on every Saturday and Sunday for 4 hours. That's going to get better ratings than some shows during prime time. Sports is big. Sports is big, and people love watching it. Quickly glaze over this. Was that the last episode of this show? Sometimes my notes aren't as diverse as I thought or as clean as they should be. Yeah, that was the last episode. I'm going to call this episode Sports is Big. There we go. Now we got that out of the way. I can stop worrying about, oh, when's the title going to come? Oh, no, the title's not here. Oh, no, the title. Oh, look at that. My reminder to do constitutionals just popped up. I have a task set up for the constitutionals, and it is there. I almost showed the name of my computer. Also forgot to turn on the timer. How long has this episode been going on? 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Next things next. Here's coming up next. The web page is loading. This comes from The Verge, written by Chaim Gartenberg. I pray that I got that right. Hulu is adding HDR for some of its original shows and movies. The subhead of that is, yes, it's only just doing this now. But I think I would have stopped loading this page so the camera can keep up with me. God, I just need some stuff. I just need new stuff. So, I would, if you watch a lot of streaming stuff as we are wont to do, and if you have 4K compatible television, you'll notice that a lot of shows trigger I'm sorry. They don't trigger. I always thought they did, but they don't. They will air things in 4K. If you have Netflix's top tier $18 model, instead of the regular $14 one, the mid tier one, then that also that gets 4K streaming. And then if you have Disney Plus, Hulu now, HBO Max, they all just everything's already. If it's in 4K, it's going to air in 4K. If it has Dolby Vision, it's going to air Dolby Vision, Atmos, HDR, all that stuff. Dolby Vision and HDR are two different things. But if they support either one of those formats, it's going to do that. Trigger your television into going to those formats if your television supports it. So shows are now more or less being shot in 4K, especially the streaming shows. And as we move over from HD to 4K and HDR, but now Hulu is jumping in the fray. I think this is Disney Plus and HBO Max definitely had the best launches. They were able to sit back and kind of HBO Max sat back and watched Disney Plus, and Disney Plus was able to see how even from things like Quibi to other platforms before it, see how they launched, and Disney Plus I think obviously did it the best, and HBO Max is a very good follow up, and Peacock even had a very nice launch. But what Disney Plus did right is that it launched with 4K in mind. It launched knowing that, hey, not only do we have to be cheap, not only do we have this library of goods, but we also need to look good. And the movies that launched were like all the Marvel movies that were shot in 4K, Dolby Atmos, UHD, all that stuff. They launched with that, and that is spectacular to be able to have all of your I was going to say content, but I'm not going to say that. To have all of your movies and shows, and now your shows like Monsters at Work and What If, that show, the Marvel show, to have all that launch in 4K it's just commonplace now. And Hulu doing this just now, it seems like it's late to the party. I think only a couple of its shows beforehand and I don't even think any of his movies were in 4K. Devs, I know for a fact, because I had to look up, before I got this new TV, I looked up what does Hulu offer in 4K, and it was not a lot. And I think now, obviously, it's been adding a lot of HDR stuff to its plate. Even Vacation Friends, which I watched this past weekend, which I thought very funny, is in 4K. So it's good to see them finally adopt a format that's 5 years old at this point. HDR content with Hulu will be available on usual streaming suspects. HDR compatible Roku's, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, HDR compatible Chromecast, Vizio TVs with HDR, all that. Mobile devices and video game consoles, I don't think are being supported for 4K streaming content via any other app as well. I believe Netflix is supporting them, but everyone else, I know HBO Max is not, especially on Xbox. I have not watched anything on PlayStation since I got the Google TV, Chromecast with Google TV, but I can only imagine that they're in the same boat. I remember, before streaming apps became abundant, and I was just using, and streaming, not platforms, devices became abundant. I was just using the Xbox and the PlayStation to watch things, and it's still clunky to use those things. And now that we have these better Chromecasts and just different models of Roku and Fire TVs and the Apple TV 4K, it's never watch. If you have a smart TV, never ever ever. I don't care if you're like, oh, it's a smart TV, I wouldn't watch stuff. Don't do that. It's like running a computer all the time, and imagine people don't want to buy new TVs every 2 years. So I've never signed in on the LG C1. I don't sign in on apps. I just use the Chromecast because I don't want to slow down. Anyway, consoles aren't up to par. And I think it's just hard to develop for them. So the list of HDR content for Hulu, I keep saying content, is growing. The new Nine Perfect Strangers is in 4K. I assume HDR as well. Yeah, 4K HDR. Handmaid's Tale, Little Fires Everywhere, and it's great. Castle Rock, Future Man, which I knew was in 4K. It's not a lot, but they're slowly building up. So there you go. Moving along, what's next? Oh boy. Okay. This might not be a 30-minute episode. This might be longer. This next one comes from Variety, baby, written by Salome Hailu and Ethan Schanfeld. Now, actually, it kind of fits in with this with the theme of this week. So, Mike Richards was the whole saga of Mike Richards and Jeopardy. Alex Trebek dies. I'm going to sum it up. Alex Trebek died. Like, this is imagine the Disney emoji, those emoji videos that they do, which I think are really good. The emoji summaries of their movies. Alex Trebek dies. Mike Richards is an EP over at Jeopardy. They say, let's go find a successor. They put on this whole worldwide search, basically a national search, but a whole worldwide search featuring Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, other people not on ABC. No, LeVar Burton, apparently Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, no one's good enough. Mayim Bialik. But they take Mayim Bialik, give her a primetime Jeopardy show. Mike Richards, again EP of Jeopardy, make him the host of Jeopardy. Everybody's in uproar. Mike Richards has hosted before, including the show Beauty and the Geek, produced by Ashton Kutcher. I think that was my first reality show that I watched because it was beautiful women dating geeky guys, and I thought it was real. I was like, what? Like, how are these people going to be together? And I wonder if any of those people think back on that time and go, God, I can't believe I did that. I know I do for my dating show. And so people in uproar. People go back in time, dig up old podcasts that Mike Richards did. He said some pretty foul stuff in regards to women and their bodies. And then he is basically. I read he stepped down, but everybody's like so. Then Sony essentially fires him from Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, and now he's out of a job and in Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. I said that already. So now he's out of a job. So now he's already hosted 1 week's worth of Jeopardy shows. So those will air next week or the week after. Okay, so now they're looking for a new host. Interestingly enough, there is also a report that came out, I believe, yesterday after it was announced that he was fired, that said more or less that there was never a plan to find a successor, like in that nationwide search where everybody was basically trying out. Mike Richards was already tapped to be the host, and I believe that to the very end. It makes sense. So now here's the shortest hosting stints in history, as pointed out by Variety. Ann Curry hosting today. That was a very public affair. That was a very, very public thing. Ann Curry was ousted after less than a year of taking over for Meredith Vieira. I wish Ann Curry stayed. I liked her a lot, and now she doesn't. I don't believe she does anything, and she doesn't even understand why she was replaced. And this is in 2020 when she announced, like when Elle asked her, and she's like, I don't know what I did. I was doing my job. I did nothing wrong. And this is after Matt Lauer was fired in 2018 for sexual misconduct, and maybe people think it has to be around the Lauer thing because she did have tension with Lauer. Conan O'Brien hosting Tonight Show. That's another very public thing. This is after Jay. Very quick story. Jay said he's ready to step down. Go watch CNN's. You've heard the story before. Jay Leno said he's going to step down. Conan's supposed to take over Tonight Show. Conan took over Tonight Show. Jay says, I want to do a show again. NBC says, okay, we'll put you on at 10 o'clock. So they put him on at 10 o'clock, and Jay goes, the ratings are good. And then NBC goes, you know what? We'll put you on 11:35. Tonight Show will come on at 12:05. The time slot that Conan just left, and then late night will come on at 2 a.m. essentially, which are like at 1 a.m. Which that is the most insane thing. Anyway, Conan walked away, $45 million settlement, and Tonight Show forever lost its grace. Next up, Magic Johnson's The Magic Hour, which is a show I did not know. For 6 months in 1998, former Los Angeles Lakers sports executive and philanthropist Magic Johnson also had talk show host as one of his titles, but The Magic Hour was an immediate critical and commercial failure. Variety's review at the time called Johnson wit challenged, saying that, quote, everything was just a tad too upbeat and a lot of cornball. Wow, okay. Ratings briefly increased after an episode wherein Johnson confronted Howard Stern, who had been vocal critic of the show, but that didn't last long, and The Magic Hour was ultimately canceled. Kris Jenner's Kris. And it makes sense that she had a show. I don't understand why Magic Johnson would have one, but I guess in late 90s, he was a very big name. He still is a big name, but was a very big name and a very vocal person in the sports world. Kris Jenner's Kris, 2013. I don't even remember this. This is when she basically became a thing. She had a daytime talk show. She was a huge, when the Kardashians were at the tip top of their fame. Obviously, it's very high right now, but when they were at the tip top of their fame, oh my gosh. It aired in 6 cities and on Fox-owned channels and given a 6-week trial. They usually do this. RuPaul's daily talk show went through this. I believe Kirk Fox had a show that went through this. Tamra, basically, if you see a show that's a daily talk show on during the day, like Kelly Clarkson's show, or Ellen even, or Oprah even, they had to go through a trial to see if people were interested, and then they go nationwide and they turn it into a daily talk show. Next up, Fox's The Wilton North Report. I don't know who that is. Fox taps Sacramento DJ duo Phil Cowan and Paul Robbins. Okay, I know Phil Cowan. Okay, wow. And that ran from December 11th, 1987 to January 8th, 1988. Woof. It was a news magazine show with talking and comedy and stuff. Okay, interesting. And then it switched formats midway through its brief 4-week run, later reducing on its reliance on comedy and focusing on, quote, mini documentaries. Oh, this week's episode of The Constitutionals, the one after this, is going to talk about mini docs coming from CBS This Morning, or as they call it, CBS Mornings. Fox's Chevy Chase show. Oh, jeez. When Fox offered Dolly Parton a late-night program, the country star politely declined, suggesting Chevy Chase instead. Ooh, the network quickly went all in with the actor-comedian, offering Chase a $3 million contract and pouring $1 million in renovations into the newly named Chevy Chase Theater. The show was a disaster. Fox canceled after 4 weeks on air. The show, which ran from September to October 1993, also panned by critics. Wow. Okay, next up, Fran Drescher had a talk show. It's called Fran Drescher Talk, T-A-W-K show. That was less than a month in late 2010. Did not know she had a show. Jackie Gleason's You're in the Picture. That was... It debuted on the evening of John F. Kennedy's inauguration in 1961. Interesting. They don't say how long it lasted. Mike Richards on Jeopardy has 9 days. 9 days, that's how long it lasted. So that new season is going to kick off September 13th. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks we'll get to see his handful of episodes. Truly a handful. Quite literally, a handful of episodes. And finally, we're going to talk about the fall TV premiere date schedules. Comes from Eric Peterson over at Deadline, baby, with the pop-ups already. Good Lord. Starting tonight, starting September 1st. I know. We'll see if this episode goes up tonight. PBS Discovery and Wondrium have their new shows coming on. September 2nd, we're going to see some FX shows. Oh, AP Bio from Peacock and What We Do in the Shadows on FX and Q-Force on Netflix. The D'Amelio Show. Oh, Jesus. I spend my whole early young adulthood just struggling and trying to work so hard and writing and doing this stupid show and doing news time and talking to comedians and creative people and building my reputation. And these young white ladies, kids, children, they put up TikToks and they're more successful than I will ever be. And it just stinks. And I know, don't compare yourself. But I've worked so hard. And they lip sync to songs. They don't have talent. They can't change a tire. They can't unclog a toilet. They can't replace the flapper in the toilet. They can't install a shower head. That's going to be on Hulu. Billions is coming back. I don't know what I wanted to do with this. Oh, there's a Days of Our Lives limited series on Peacock? Robot Chicken, that's still going on? Jesus. Oh, God. I'm just so sad right now. Football comes back the 9th of September. So basically everything is coming back a week after Labor Day. Or the week of Labor Day. No, yeah, week after Labor Day. That's when everything starts coming. A new Frogger game show from Peacock. A Top Chef show from Peacock. Dang, Peacock is really dropping this. They should have dropped this stuff during the summer. I don't know why I wait now. What'd you put out during the summer? The show about the girls with guitars? And Girls 5 Eva was earlier. I don't remember anything else. Lucifer is coming September. A Smurf show on Nickelodeon. More episodes of Camp Coral from SpongeBob SquarePants. Real Housewives. Why the Last Man? I started reading that comic book series. Read the first book. A little crass. Obviously written by men. You can tell. I mean, it's a good book. Why the Last Man? It's a good book, and I understand why people are talking about it. I've been hearing about that. I remember back in when G4 was still around, and Blair Herter was on Attack of the Show talking about she had a comic book segment on that show, And she was talking about, I remember she suggested Y the Last Man, and so for, quite frankly, probably 10, 15 years, or probably since it ever came out, she was talking about that. I've always wanted to read it, and it's at my local library, and I downloaded it via Hoopla. And now that I'm an adult reading it, and I know, I'm not somebody who uses the words toxic masculinity or any of that stuff, but it's gross. It's gross the way it's written. Nailed It comes back September 15th. Saw a little trailer for that on Nicole Byer's Instagram. Let's see, what else? More stuff coming. I mean, this is going to be. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I'm gonna go ahead and say this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Everything is planned out until December, and there's still unannounced dates for shows that are already made, like Claw season, the final season of Claw, the new season of Genlock on HBO. I don't know. Star Trek Prodigy, the Paramount Plus Nickelodeon Star Trek show. Wow. I mean, there's just so many things that I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure about JoJo Siwa? I was watching, before I get to my point, I was watching, periodically I've been watching a lot of old SNL episodes because I think SNL is really good. Even, anyway, I just think it's really good, and it's interesting to watch episodes from a long time. I watched the Russell Brand episode, and I'd never seen it, but I'd seen sketches from it, and I just thought a lot of it was fine, and a lot of it wasn't good, but there's some funny stuff in there. Anyway, but it takes me back. I have a playlist on YouTube called SNL Bests or something like that, or Best SNL Sketches. What is it called? I don't think it matters what's it called, because I don't want you freaks looking at it. But I'm going to look it up anyway. It's called SNL Sketches, aptly named. It's got about 180 sketches, because earlier this year, SNL basically unlocked all of their, they used to, what's it called? What Team Coco does with Conan clips, and what, oh my God, I'm blanking. I can see them in my head. Team Coco. And Comedy Central does with Key and Peele sketches is, in order to make more revenue, they'll either unlist or make the sketches of Key and Peele, for instance, or the clips from Conan, they'll make them private, or they'll unlist them, or delete them all from YouTube, and then to make more revenue, they'll post them again, and those are clips that get, especially for Key and Peele, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million views. And so, anyway, I hate that practice. But anyway, SNL used to do that. They used to post clips of old episodes like 7 years ago. You can see, you'll know it because it'll say the clip was uploaded 7 years ago, and it'll be an episode from that year, or it'll be an episode from 10 years earlier. Anyway. They'll upload clips, and they'll put them down and take them up. But now they unlocked those and made them available, forever, because it just doesn't matter anymore. But I have put on SNL Sketches. I was watching a bunch of clips this morning with my breakfast, as one does. As the news was playing, as like something important was playing in the background, I'm just like, let me watch these old SNL sketches. And I was watching the stuff from the quarantine, from when they were still doing SNL at home. And, looking back on that now, especially at a time, where they finished out the season, they were able to do that in studio. They did such a phenomenal job. It's just comparatively, and especially compared to what people, it's like, I can watch somebody on YouTube, and they can do a really, really good job on the video. And ultimately it's not, if it's a tech review, or if it's a news personality, if it's somebody doing comedy, it could be funnier than SNL. It could be as funny as SNL, and it could not be funny at all. But the talent is there, and what SNL's team, the writers, the actors, the producers, the editors, everybody, what everybody did, the directors, whoever, sound people, whoever touched those videos, just did a fantastic job with everybody working from home. And it was just, you gotta take that when you can get it. It's just amazing what they did, all the special effects and everything. So anyway, all that boiled down to this essence. God, now I forgot her name. Chloe Feynman did a JoJo C. She did the master class, and she was Timothy Chalamet, and JoJo C was one of the characters. So that was a long walk from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to being JoJo Siwa to telling his story about SNL and all that stuff. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So my point is, I can't believe I just remembered this, but I think that this is going to be the biggest television season ever. Not only because of all the streaming services, not only because of Discovery Plus is launched, HBO Max is in a great groove, Peacock is launching all these new shows, Disney Plus is nipping on the heels of Netflix. This is going to be, take all of that, and then also added the fact that this is going to be a big year because a lot of these shows were held over from the last year and they just didn't have room on schedules this year. And so that's why Claws, when that launches, that might go by the wayside because it's the final season and it's a great show, but like, when's TNT going to have time to air this? Especially now that we're getting deep into the baseball season, and Warner needs the room in the schedule for baseball, and then they've got to compete. Linear shows on network and cable and on broadcast and cable have to deal with streamer shows and then HBO and premium cable shows. I mean, it's crazy. You have to stand out. There's a Hawkeye television series. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, I knew that. There's a Beatles documentary series on Disney Plus. I mean, AMC Plus, not AMC. AMC Plus has a new show, Ragdoll. It's a drama series. Sebastian Maniscalco's got a show on Discovery Plus. And then Flash and Riverdale come back on CW. I haven't watched Riverdale, but The Flash returns on November 16th. I mean, that's great. We're going to have a huge year of television. I dare somebody to keep up. Man. Okay, well, that's it. That's all the constitutionals I have for you today. Listen, if you like what you heard here, and I don't know why you would not, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see some other stuff, including episodes of the Constitutional News Time. You want to see the video version of the show, youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see me sitting in a Green Lantern teen shirt. And you can hear American Dad play in the background. American Dad's great. You can also see our premiere show, News Time, which is a news show where I sit down and I take a topic and I dissect it. Another thing that I missed a week. Not the first time, because one time I was very depressed after a breakup and I missed a week. But I missed like several weeks. But this, go back, we'll see. It's 2019, late 2019. This week's episode was about Gamescom, and it was one I planned out last year and did not. And by planned out, I mean I had one link. So don't watch it; it's not a good episode. Or watch it; who gives a crap? But it's not a good episode. I'll tell you that much. But this week's episode is gonna be great. Twitter, Instagram, @CPlusComedy. Me on Twitter, Instagram, @ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Rate, review, subscribe. This show, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for listening. And now I got to figure out how to get to the outro. All right, bye.